morning, everybody. I think in view of the transfer window closing at 11 o'clock last night, I thought I'd just take the opportunity to update you on the club, but also to explain the actions that we took yesterday and why we took them. I think context is really important at the moment with the football club, and you know that there is no disguising the fact, and I'm sure it's true of every football club, League One and League Two, and probably higher than that, that the financial situation for us is difficult to manage. Every game we play, we lose money, and it's true of every football club, I'm afraid, outside of the Premier League, that every match we play is a loss-making event. And so my primary concern this year is to ride out the storm of the pandemic and make sure that we're still here, frankly, that we have a sustainable football club. And trust me, that's been a very difficult thing to do this year, and a lot of people have paid the price. There have been redundancies, there have been cost measures in the football club I never really wanted to do, frankly, but we've had to do them to make sure we have a sustainable football club going forward. The latest cash flows, which the financial statements that I went through with Steph for the coming months, were not good. Something had to give, frankly, in the football club to make sure that we become and remain sustainable. I was left yesterday and throughout the month of January of looking at the players and seeing what comes in terms of offers, how we strengthen our particular squad. There's been an awful lot in the press and in social media, and a lot of it is absolute nonsense, frankly. And so I wanted just to address you directly and tell you what the truth of the matter is. In the case of our players, only two attracted any interest from outside, and that was Zach and Elijah, as you've seen. We played it pretty tough, frankly, that we waited until the very end of the window when the clock was ticking before we concluded the deals for both of those players. Let me make it absolutely clear, I did not want to sell either of those two players. I wish they were still part of Walsall Football Club. But there are some economic realities that we have to face as a football club, and it goes back to the context and sustainability I'm talking about, and making sure we have a football club in the future. So it's a really tough decision to make, to have to let those players go. There's some realities as well, those players were offered opportunities in higher league, particularly Elijah, and they wanted to go. So it's difficult then to hold on to players that want to go. And in Elijah's case, as most of you know, his contract expires at the end of the season. And so you can only extract value from that particular deal whilst he's in contract. So we really had to make a decision, a tough one, to allow him to go to Luton Town yesterday. Against my judgment as a fan, but absolutely the right judgment in terms of the club and its sustainability going forward. And for him personally, he goes to the Championship, and I wish him all the best. And similarly with Zach's gone on to the MK Dons, as you've seen. For the club, that is the right decision. It may be an unpopular decision, but that doesn't make it wrong. And those that, I'm sure those that will say we've made the wrong decisions, trust me, we have not. And we have, as you've seen, bought in 5 players. We'd already bought in Tariq, Jaden, and Frank, who, I think they'll be very good additions. And yesterday, to replace Zach, we bought in Melbourne from Lincoln City, who I think will be absolutely fine and our left-sided of our defence. And up front, of course, we brought in Derek, who will be the replacement, well, one of the replacements for the forward line to keep us strong with Elijah moving on. So we have brought in, and I know they're loan players, and I know that doesn't necessarily go down all that well with supporters, but they're loan players with a view to, if they perform, we'll make them Walsall players, going on a bit like we did with Rory Holden last season. When we know there's a possibility of losing players, the team under Darryl worked very hard to identify replacement players, which they have. So I still remain very positive that we did the right things, albeit, not particularly popular things, but we did the right things for the club, and we brought in players that will still sustain our push this year. Now, time will tell, but I believe that's to be the case. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. So, but I did think you needed me to explain where we're at, why we do these things, and some of the stuff I do made aware of in social media and press, is misleading nonsense, and I needed to put the record straight from the Walsall Football Club perspective as to where we're at and why we do the things that we do. So, I hope you understand, and I hope you stick with us through this period as you have done so far. And I always say thank you, and I mean it. And I also say I want you back in the stadiums as soon as possible, because until that is the case, football clubs like ours will continue to struggle. Quite simply, we still have to pay everybody, but we have no constant events and we have no fans in the stadium. It's a tough economic model to sustain, therefore we have to do things, and we've done them. Please understand. Thank you.